So now I think I'm going to include another case study for my future brand workshops, because this is a brand that I've been following for quite a few years. And, I was really excited to kind of look at it. And there are really interesting takeaways from this. And then I think, and then I'll kind of go through the campaign. But, without revealing it, again, this person wanted to take on a very entrenched, cutthroat industry, the beverage industry. It started in 2019 in LA, from $2.8 million in sales to $45 million in sales in 2021 to $130 million in sales in 2022. This year, this company is now worth $1.4 billion. All right.
Wow.
It was founded by a guy called Mike Cesario, and he was not a product guy, and he was not an engineer, and he wasn't a beverage guy. He was an ad guy, and he was actually a creative director formerly at Netflix. All right. So I think what makes this really unique is, rather than building a product first and then finding ways to market it, similar to kind of our brand DNA, kind of bringing it back to that, is that he had an idea and he really wanted to figure out, how does he give this idea, this brand, a personality? How does he take an alternative look at what he wants to take on, i.e. the water business? So he started a brand called Liquid Death, right? Which is today worth $1.4 billion.
Yeah.
And how did he do that? So he started first, which everyone should do when they're thinking about their brand, is he studied the market ruthlessly. And he really kind of wanted to know who his audience was, right? So if you think about water brands, right? What's
There's nothing exciting about them.
But what are the visuals? Glacier, mountain, springs, healthy, running in a park, right? That's all water. On the shelf, that's all water, right?
Pictures of mountains, flowing rivers.
Right? Yeah. Beautiful looking people, right? Perfect.
And that's the obvious way to go, isn't it?
That's the obvious way to go. And most of the time, they're in plastic bottles, right? So his idea was simple. I'm going to make it canned, right? And I'm going to aim it at a demographic that water doesn't appeal to, i.e. Gen Z, all right? So no plastic, it was canned. It wasn't a typical can also, right? He went with a tall boy format to mimic the likes of energy drinks or craft beers. The naming, Liquid Death, provocative, memorable, strong recall.
Yep.
Look, the branding, like a punk rock band, skull imagery, leather, tattoos, studs, mohawks. Tagline, murder your thirst. All right. So he really kind of took this really strong position.
Yep.
And that goes back to creativity, where you say, be courageous, is taking a position, right? I'm sure it was pretty hard to get investors excited about the business at that point, right? When you're saying, I'm going to take on the Pepsis, the Coca-Colas, the Fijis and the Vosses and the Evians of the world.
But then, when it comes down to it, investors know as well as anyone that a brand has to be differentiated from their competitors.
Yeah.
And, when they're analyzing these things, they see all of those competitors, like you say, in one box or tangent, and this one going the complete opposite way.
Yeah.
You can definitely see why somebody, from an investment perspective would think, yeah, this guy's onto something here.
Yeah, I mean, your big investors said no, but he did find like-minded souls in alternative investors. So, NFL football players, basketball players, people who are not your typical investor, because they understood, or they associated with the authenticity of the brand.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that, because I think that sports stars are now becoming very, very important investors.
Yeah.
We've seen it with various people in it, from basketball, from soccer or football, NFL. They're becoming incredibly important because of their both their image and their wealth. So image-wise, they're being the face of these brands, and from an investment perspective, they're making millions of dollars. Where are they going to put that cash? Well, they become very, very influential investors too, and we're seeing that across all sports, all major sports,
Yeah.
and these stars getting involved with projects which sometimes it outstrips their sporting careers, and rightly so. It's great that they propel themselves from one successful career onto another.
Yeah. So going back to Liquid Death, comms use creativity to solve a business industry challenge, studied the market and understood exactly who the product is for, came up with killer positioning, design, and packaging, right? Paired it with a strong sense of identity and messaging tailored to Gen Z, humorous, authentic, anti-brand, offbeat, environmental activism, F you to the man. Yeah. Gen Z drink 20% less than millennials. All right. But they didn't want to feel left out because they care about image. So they didn't want to feel left out when they're partying or hanging out with their friends. Hence, a tall boy can of water that looks like you're drinking a craft beer, right? Unconventional content and campaigns, that's how they launched the brand. Digital first, went straight to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, creating really dark humor ads and formats, produced viral videos, mockumentaries. They created a fictitious heavy metal band to promote the brand. The stores that stock Liquid Death, they call them death dealers rather than, what dealers. So you can actually, that's how you learn where you can buy Liquid Death. And they've come up with some fantastic campaigns, and every campaign just reinforces their message. So their kind of CSR environmental action campaign is called Death to Plastics, right? So again, just very, very grungy, punk rock, death to plastics, call to action to do better for the environment. Different campaigns or ads that they did, an activation they did is called Sell Your Soul. For every soul sold, i.e. every time you buy a creative Liquid Death, every soul sold would be a pledge towards a cleanup action. Deadliest stuff on earth. They had these really kind of famous orchestra players pouring Liquid Death using profanities. Big Game was their first big format TV during the Super Bowl. It shows these young kids rocking out, painting their faces, drinking these cans, almost shocked, like very jarring footage. And then they showed like a pregnant lady also then shotgunning this can. And then it was later revealed that the tagline was like, "Don't be scared, it's just water." I love this one, Cutie Palooties. They created a range of stuffed sea animals, all maimed, bloodied, and murdered by plastic pollution.
Wow. That's pretty bold imagery, isn't it?
Right? Another really good one. Loving Homes for Plastic. All right. If you went onto the website and you ordered using the code Loving Homes, they would ship you the crate of water of Liquid Death, but then they'd also give you postage stamps for you to take a bottle of Coke and Pepsi, a plastic bottle, put the stamp on it, and it would be shipped to the Coke and Pepsi headquarters in the US. Basically saying that, keep plastics off our oceans, landfills, and beaches.
I love that. That's so funny.
Critics. So there were a lot of haters as well in their YouTube comments. They convinced two of their haters, that people who regularly posted with hateful or critical comments, to do a blind tase test. So they invited them to LA and they had all the waters, Fiji, Voss, Evian, everything, right? Smart water, etc. And it was a blind taste test to find out which is the worst tasting water. They basically said, we're the worst tasting water, right? So they flipped it on its head. Murder Your Meditation. They created a 10-hour YouTube video where it's just really serene imagery, but it's like a really deep rock voice, right? So it's like, you can do it. And it's like motivational speaking, like, send your significant other a message saying you up, make sweet love, and then get back to thirst rehydration. Tea for trucks. That was another great one when they launched a new product. So it was iced tea. and it's basically your regular Joe American with a big pickup truck, saying that, I don't want to serve the man. I don't want to go to my job. I'd rather be home, work on my truck, because that's what I like, right? Liquid Death iced tea, and he's pouring it into his car. This is perfect. It's going to totally F up your engine. Hence, I get to stay home and work on it longer and spend time with my family.
So you said this company is a $1.4 billion company. It's built its whole value based upon brand and creativity. Yeah. So from that,
people don't even know where the water's sourced from.
Probably the tap, but even if it is, it's fantastic, and ultimately you're meeting the customer in a totally unexpected place. Yeah. And the question I have is, where when you're walking around here in Dubai or in the UAE, where do you buy Liquid Death?
You can't. I don't think it's here yet.
So this brand has built this. This is a US.
Started in
primarily US.
Primarily
business.
US. And if you see, like, all of the people that are featured in the ads are not A-list celebrities. A lot of them are your famous comedians turned podcasters, right? So, Whitney Cummins, they have a lot of the guys from, like, Steve-O from Jackass.
Yeah.
The Machine Bert, whatever his last name is, I can never pronounce it.
Kreischer or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So a lot of, like, offbeat, if you watch a lot of these podcasts on YouTube, Liquid Death is always there. They're always drinking from Liquid Death. Yeah. Right. They understand their audience. Their audience isn't watching, a beautifully produced 30-minute episode of something on YouTube, right? From a traditional media outlet. They're watching long format. They're living the life of these different people that they follow, right? From comedians to style makers to creative artists, for example.
By the way, if anyone from Liquid Death is watching, we have plain plastic glasses, and if you want to send us some bottles for us to be sponsored, I'm happy to have you on.